Joining me now is Kathy Davis. She is an accountability and empowerment coach and the CEO of Veginspired. She's also the author of 3 plant-based cookbooks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wendy. So nice to be here. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm so glad to speak with you. It's been a tough couple of years to stick to wellness plans. I've had a wellness plan that I put in place in late 2013 that you couldn't get me to budge from. But the last 2 years, I've budged a lot. And I'm seeing that that's really an issue. So I wanted to chat with you and give our listeners and viewers some tips, because I don't think I'm alone in that. And how is it that we can maintain a mindset of intention and staying on task with what we really want for our health and wellness, especially with food? How can we do that?
That's a great question. And I would agree, you're not alone. There's so many of us that, the stress, everything that's going on, it makes us really kind of lean back into some of our old habits. And that's one of the big pieces, one of the big keys, I would say, to really sticking to a wellness plan with intention is to take that step back and ask yourself, why? Why do you want this wellness plan? Who are you becoming as a
Mm,
result of the wellness plan? What aspects of the wellness plan are you putting into your life on a day-to-day basis? And then really, my second tip really is to tap into how food makes you feel. A lot
mhm.
of times we lean into those comfort foods thinking that it's going to make us feel all cozy and warm, and we find, the dairy
Mhm.
irritates our stomach, or the gluten. Really lean into the way the foods make you feel, and then remember that and say to yourself, gosh, the last time I ate that, I didn't feel very good. Is there
Mhm.
an alternative that brings me joy and serves me and allows me to really stick with those plans?
Mhm.
And then my third tip on that really is, we can't beat ourselves up over something that happened and a choice that we made. We made the choice. And I teach in my program, like, you have to have that pivot back plan. You go
Mhm.
out one night with your friends and you have a burger and fries, and that totally doesn't align with your wellness plan. What's your pivot back plan for the next morning? Are you
Right.
wallowing in the pity and the shame of making a choice that doesn't align with your goal? Or are you like, nope, I'm right back on track to my wellness plan? Because it's the things we do every day that keep us on track,
Mhm.
not those once in a while oops, or even intentional, right? Like, I eat pretty clean whole plant foods, but that doesn't mean on my birthday I don't want a big piece of vegan chocolate cake. It's those
Right.
once in a while things that make us happy, that allow us to not feel like we're cheating, or that we're so restrictive that we can't do the things, we can't live
Mhm.
our life.
I think that's so what you mentioned, that last tip about, not beating yourself up and realizing that what you do next is the more important part. And that could be anything from, well, the next day I'm gonna make sure I drink plenty of water and try to take the steps to get back on the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And when I have clients that are really trying to eat more clean or plant-based, I'm like, go ahead and make your commitment to breakfast. I feel like most of us
Mhm.
have the most control over breakfast time because we're usually home.
Mhm.
If that's not the time of the day that you have the most control, then pick a different time of the day. But
Mm.
that's the way we start our day
Right.
oftentimes. And so if you have control over your breakfast, and you know that after that, you know, the choices you made the night before, you're still going to get up and have that really nourishing and fiber filled, healthy breakfast that you love, that aligns with your plan,
Mhm.
then that'll drive you to make maybe better choices throughout the day and not feel so bad.
Right, right. I think that's true. And the feeling bad part too, we're kind of like conditioned to do that to ourselves, especially as women, I think, you know, and it's really important to kind of get out of that, don't you think?
Yeah, the diet mentality is, I mean, we're conditioned at such a young age. Like, this is what ideal bodies look like, or beach bodies, and, like, really, really programming us to think that how we look is a representation of who we are. And I think if we take
Mhm.
a step back and we say to ourselves, it's about the person I'm becoming or the person that is following this wellness plan, right? For me, when I really cleaned up I've been vegan for 8 years, but 2 years ago, I cleaned up that vegan diet to really eat more whole, clean plant foods
Mhm.
because I travel the country full time in an RV with a goal to go to all the national parks. And I wanted to be able to hike them.
Right.
So, like,
Mhm.
my daily choices on food needed to align with a person who can hike amazing national park trails. And
Right.
so really
Mhm.
you really have to tune into what your goals are and maybe how food or your wellness plan affects that.
Right, right. That sounds, yeah, that's really important. I think figuring out what your goals are rather than, oh, I'm going to jump on this diet trend. What are my goals? I love that your plan is to hike these parks, and what do you need to do to get there? Because it just makes it really positive, instead of shaming and, oh my gosh, I ate the wrong thing today. Something else you said, though, I think is really important because a lot of times folks who are vegan eat a lot of processed food, and that's not so healthy either. So it sounds like that's something that you kind of addressed for yourself too.
It was definitely something I addressed. I went vegan, plant-based, 7.5, 8 years ago to take control over my health.
Hmm.
As time went on, so many amazing vegan products came on the market. It was
Yes.
easy to have a vegan burger with vegan cheese from Burger King. I mean, like, it was
Hmm.
easy. And you could go to a restaurant and any restaurant would have a vegan burger now, or most restaurants have a vegan burger, but it's not like they used to be. They had vegan burgers before. You would go and seek out a restaurant and they would have veggie burgers or bean burgers. And
Hmm.
now they're made with all these processed ingredients that are, you know, unpronounceable, lots of oil, lots of salt, lots of sugar, a lot line the same kind of processed food that's the standard American diet. And
Right.
what I started to notice was that I was showing signs of pre-diabetes and I was like, "Oh gosh, I have to take control of this. Like,
Hmm.
this isn't going to work long term. Like, I don't want to go down that trajectory. So
Right.
what do I need to do? I needed to step back into the whole plant foods, but
Hmm.
I wanted to make a lifestyle out of it. It's not a short-term diet, right? It's not a
Right.
get to the scale. If I'm a person that hikes, a person who's healthy, a person who's well, it's a day-to-day long-term commitment. And that's
Hmm.
what I found. I found that by focusing on the lifestyle and the long-term piece of it and becoming that person, instead of focusing on a specific weight goal, it
Hmm.
changed my whole perspective.
Wow, I love that. Yeah. Um, so switching gears back to kind of what's on our plate in general and talking about comfort food, because we talked about that a little bit in the beginning. Um, the things that we think are comforting have a lot of sugar and carbs, right? Um, how do we switch gears and kind of change our mindset so that the plants and vegetables on the plate feel comforting? Is that possible?
It is possible with more of the whole foods. So if you think about the whole food having, you know, all of its nutrients and fiber intact, you've got whole grains. So millet, quinoa. So they're really a balanced grain that you can eat alongside your fruits and veggies. Maybe adding a more luxurious sauce made from cashews to get that healthy cashew fat in your meals, maybe a avocado on top of a meal, really kind of tapping into the more luxurious whole plant foods. And then also adding a lot of flavor. Something that I really, really like are I love tacos. I mean, if it can be rolled into a tortilla, I am here for it.
You're not
And
alone. People, we have a whole Taco Tuesday. Like everyone seems to love tacos. Yeah, I'm with you.
so how can we make tacos flavorful and fun using plant ingredients? And maybe it's potato tacos, or maybe it's quinoa and black bean tacos.
Mm.
Maybe it's roasted veggie tacos. Maybe it's cauliflower barbecue tacos, really thinking about ways that you can take the inspiration maybe from your favorite restaurant and use a plant food in place
Mhm.
of that to make it more comforting. And then as far as sugar, because I do love my sweets. I always look for like fruits, little dried fruits, dates, maple syrup, ways that you can kind of use natural sweeteners
Mhm.
to amp up a food. Maybe it's, my oats get a drizzle of maple syrup. I have a client that uses maple extract.
Mm.
So she makes banana ice cream and uses the extracts to give it more flavor. And I was like, that's brilliant. Frozen bananas, maybe some flaxseed, maybe a little non-dairy milk. And she's got this great creamy dessert
Oh,
that
that
she can
sounds
add.
good.
I
Yeah.
know she puts pumpkin in it too.
Oh,
Recently, she's been doing
yum.
like a pumpkin one. And I was like, that's brilliant. It's so
Uh-huh.
good. And it's really clean. She doesn't even put added sweetener because the bananas are so sweet.
Mhm. Nice, nice. So there are ways for sure. And it sounds like you've got some great tricks for that as well. I love it that you call yourself an accountability coach too, because I think that's an issue sometimes that people have. There's no one except themselves to really be accountable to. And sometimes that can get really hard when there's a lot of stress or, things are difficult at home or whatever it happens to be. So how do you help people in that way? What exactly does that mean? Accountability.
Yes. So I have a hybrid group coaching program, which allows them to be part of a community. And then they have a dedicated coach who, has certain touch points, certain questions. We write plans, 30-day plans, 90-day plans. And then there is a level of accountability. Maybe it's a DM, maybe it's a quick voice memo. Over Thanksgiving, it was like, hey, it's Friday. What's on the plan today? And,
Right.
and really touching base and checking in. And, one of the things, fortunately for me, my husband's fully on board with the way that we eat. But a lot of times that doesn't happen for people.
Mhm.
So they're going this alone. And it's very lonely when you're the only one eating things, even if you love it, even if you love how plant based eating makes you feel, when you're the
Yes.
only one at an event that's making your own Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
it can feel kind of lonely. So to
For
have that
sure.
group, the group program and somebody reaching out to your DMs to be like, hey, happy Monday. What's
Right.
on the menu this week? And really kind of tapping in has shown a lot of significant improvement for my clients. Really just being able to teach them too how to hold themselves accountable, because
Hmm.
that's the ultimate goal, right? I want
Sure.
them, my program takes them from, stressed and overwhelmed to more intuitively being able to make plant-based eating a way of life. And I want them to be able to hold themselves accountable as the program comes to an
Mhm.
end.
You're kind of teaching them to do that, by being there. It's kind of like modeling how you can do it for yourself too. So I love that. Um, well, this has been fabulous. How can people get in touch with you?
Yes, I would. I'm super active on Instagram. I love Instagram. Get in my DMs, send me a message. Happy to share recipes. You can find me at veginspired. So veg inspired
Mhm.
or Kathy Davis, both of them will come up. But that's really the best way to connect with me and learn a little bit about what I do and get a lot of inspiration. I post recipes and meal ideas and plans and just how to think about eating more plants.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Wendy.